I know you want to go, Darge, but people are waiting. We've got to go live. It's got to happen right now. We are. Welcome, everybody, to the Arcadia Roundtable. It's a Tuesday, which means I've got Chris Grannell and the Darge Knight with me. It's been a week since we've spoken to either of them properly. So, Chris, how's your week been? What have you been up
to? Busy as always. I seem to always say that, but I haven't really had time to play much. So the only thing I played really was No Rest for the Wicked, which we can get into. Not played Dragon's Dogma 2 for over a week now, I think. And obviously I have Park, Skull and Bones. I'll just give it a little nod, but yeah, they're not updating it, or the season isn't moving on, so that's just getting parked until they move on. Other than that, all good.
Excellent. Like, feeling a bit better than you were last week, a little bit more perked up. You look like you're doing all right.
Fully recovered. Got a cup of tea. Decided to wear some green tonight instead of the dark colours. So yeah, a different me, a new me.
I also didn't go particularly dark today with the brightest t-shirt that anyone has ever seen on this planet. For audio listeners, congratulations, you are not blinded by my t-shirt. Darge, what have you been up to, sir?
Yes, mate. What have I been up to, mate? Just playing games, you know, and yeah, weather's been a bit pants, isn't it, over here? But other than that, yeah, just playing games. Just absolutely loving every minute of our Discord server. I know I sound like it's like a shameless plug all the time, but it's genuinely a fact. I think I spend more time with the people in the community than I do my own family. But yeah, no, it's just it works for me, and I'm not ashamed of it. But I just I don't know. I can't remember if it was last week where I beat Jedi Survivor. I don't know if I spoke about it then. And
you were definitely playing it last week. I think you finished it after we closed the show off. But
yeah, I think it was possibility. Yeah, and then little Gamsley said about doing Final Fantasy VII remake, which I'll talk about after. But yeah, started going through that and really impressed with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, mate. Nothing exciting going on with me.
That's all exciting. We've got loads of stuff to talk about. We've got loads of people in chat as well, so thank you for coming through like you always do. Make sure you get some questions into that Q&A box. I'm a bit of an idiot, and I forgot to set up the Discord Q&A thing until a couple of hours ago. Bollocks, I forgot to tweet that we're doing a show as well. I'm really bad at this, like most things, really, to be honest. Maybe I should do that while we're talking. In fact, while we're doing it, let's get into our first main topic, because obviously we always start by talking about what games we've been playing and what we've been up to. And actually, I was going to go to Chris, but Chris has been playing No Rest for the Wicked, which is one of our kind of main topics for the day. So we're going to put that one afterwards to try and keep the show structure going. And we'll have a little chat with Darge about Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy is not on the docket, is it? Darge, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Tell us about the game, about your experience with Final Fantasy VII beforehand, if any. How are you finding it?
Yeah, so Final Fantasy, the only game that I ever played and beat was 7, but it was like when it came out and PlayStation, and it was a big deal. I think it's well known anyway that the game was a big deal, and I went through it, and it never went on to 8 from there. Kind of obviously went into another direction, but I did enjoy that game. Back then. Obviously, we'd done a bit of Final Fantasy 14. You'd spoke about it. I jumped in there and saw some of the carnage cosmetics that you could wear in that game, and it was even more like deterring. But obviously, with 7 and that history that I have with it, I'd asked about, and obviously we all have a laugh and joke about my FOMO and everything else. And we was having a conversation in Discord. It came up, and the next thing I knew, I purchased it and was installing it. So going back to it, obviously, like the well-known opening of the game where Cloud jumps off the train and you start from there. This game, I mean, I said to you in Discord the other day, we was having a chat with all of us in there, and Square Enix, they have shortcomings, especially on the Western side of things, with the Avengers and this, that, and the other. But it seems like, I know you said they had to, but it seems like with this game, they gave it everything. So it's a great looker. It's got great music. It's like everything. And I'm not even someone who's like this new Final Fantasy, a free-flowing combat. Obviously, you still select the sort of moves that you make, specials and limits and all that. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, without going into spoilers, I'm chapter 8, and I'm at a point where I'm collecting flowers, and it does sound as bad as it is. And it's kind of like, but the combat is really good, and it's like I was saying earlier. I know. I'm almost 10% an actual gamer, but
I was going to say you're almost like an old man, but
I am like an old man. You ask Chronic and Dave Mack in the Discord. I have an old man rant every day in the Discord. But anyway, I think for me, because of how long's passed, I don't know what the original release date of the original 7 was. Was it like 97, 98, something like that? The amount of time that's passed. Retelling that story this way is really good, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm about 11 and a half hours in chapter 8. I think I'm near halfway, maybe a bit more to go. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. But Rebirth, from what I've been told with Rebirth, it can be a little bit more of a slog. But then we see a conversation go off in Discord last night where some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. It's Marmite,
It's not Marmite. Rebirth, you can do both. You can love it and hate it like I do. But we'll stick on remake for the minute. So you played Final Fantasy 7 back in the day. You've went off of the series altogether. What I always said about it, I didn't say that they had to throw everything at this one. I always said that I had no faith in Square Enix to make a good Final Fantasy 7 remake at all, because the modern day Final Fantasies irk me in various ways. I still play them and like them in regards to mostly the music. I like the music and the style and the presentation, but never really into the way they deliver worlds and the way they like the characters and stories and all the rest of it has just fallen short for me. So for them to retouch 7, which was like a massive game for me. 7 is the reason that I got the PlayStation 1 in the first place, and I was already on Japanese RPGs at that point from other places, but it kind of defined my interest for a while. So when they were like redoing 7 and they had come off the back of doing 15, which I was not a fan of, I didn't think that they'd do it justice in any way whatsoever. And I adored Final Fantasy 7 Remake. It was a brilliant game. So
the settings,
Rebirth.
Go on. Sorry, mate.
No, I want to know about the setting. Tell me.
I was just going to say, like, that setting in Midgar and everything that's going on in there, like you got, if you look up whenever you're in the open, you got like the settings great. And then on the music side as well, obviously where I did 14, I told you that I turned the main music, like the main theme of the game's music off. And you was like, no, you can't do that. Final Fantasy music's like well-renowned and this, that and the other. And I ended up having it on. But the music in 7 is really good, and it still plays some of those themes from the original. So it's that nostalgic hit, you know what I mean? It's the music and the setting is on point in the game, I will say.
It's major, like its main battle theme is untouchable. Brilliant bit of music there. I love listening to that, and all the little variants of it. So you're playing on the PC. By reputation, the PC version was supposed to stutter quite a bit when it came out. It's an Unreal Engine 4 game, so it was the typical like shader cache problems that the engine is known for. How have you been finding the PC performance on it?
And maybe because I'm coming off of the back of sort of Dragon's Dogma 2 that had heavy issues, and then you've got actually let me not say heavy issues because I see Gamsley's in the chat, but it had issues. And then you had Star Wars that had issues as well, but I modded it out. This is fine. Like, this is fine. The only thing that bothers me, and Gamsley's spoken on it as well, is, you know, like where you're sort of walking towards an objective and like sort of a scripted part of the game, it's the slow walking and you can't sprint or anything. It just slows the pace of the game down, you know. But that's built into the game. That's how it is, you know. It's scripted to run that way. So as for performance overall with the game, I've got no real issue with it at all. You know, it's fine.
Wonderful, because I've been I was intending to. I played PlayStation 4 version of it when it came out, the remake. PlayStation 4 Pro it must have been, and I intended to, before Rebirth came out, I intended to go back and play through it again. I never did the extra little bit of integrate content, the DLC that they added after launch. I figured I'd do all of that in the run up to Rebirth, but there were so many games, and I figured I'm only going to do the same thing again when Part 3 comes out. So I'll ignore Part 1, play through Part 2, and just before Part 3 comes out, I'll do the whole lot all together at the highest fidelity I can, and it'll be brilliant fun, I'm sure. Chris, you're not a Final Fantasy person, are you?
No, sadly. I obviously understand why people like it, but not for me.
What? I was going to say, have you got any questions for Darge? But I'm curious, what about it do you find like repulsive?
I'm just not into JRPGs and like, I don't know, the over the top like style and stories and stuff. Just never have been. As I say, from a like professional previous game designer point of view, I understand its appeal for people and stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily jump on like World of Warcraft and stuff. And obviously, there's millions of people who love that. So, yeah, it's just not for me. I kind of half tempted to play the like Yakuza games and stuff, you know, because they were a bit more obviously GTA or whatever. But I couldn't even bring myself to play that. That was too over the top for me. So I just think it's that kind of OTT style and stuff, which I understand is an appeal for people, but I'm not really into like anime and stuff like that either. So I'm not the person to really jump on any of those kind of games.
That it was a low-key steampunk Skull and Bones.
No, I still probably wouldn't.
I'd definitely be lying. It's nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. Not even remotely.
Still wouldn't go to play it.
It does. Like, obviously, it was a PlayStation exclusive, and it kind of weirdly, even though it has different combat mechanics, it kind of fits that mode. Like, it's a quality looking product, you know, and it's third person. But when you battle, you can free battle, obviously, as you know, like button mashing X and stuff like that, and Y. But then you can do like the old original Final Fantasy, which is hit the A button, select a skill or like an ability or an attack. And I get what you're saying, Chris, but obviously, yeah, we all like what we like. But it's sort of like a hybrid of like a modern JRPG, like if you will, like a Yakuza and stuff like that. Instead of the full turn base, you know, even though I know they chop and change it, but it's like a hybrid, you know, it's kind of an up-to-date take on a classic. And like I say, listen, this is me, you know, I could be picking flowers.
I don't like the classic, so an update.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So because you didn't, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Even if you didn't like the classic, you won't like it now. So that you know, it is what we all like, what we like, you know. But
I don't have the FOMO gene like you as well.
No, I got, mate, my FOMO's next level. But they, like I say, I could go back and pick flowers for another 10 minutes and go, yeah, fuck this, and never go back to it, you know. So at the minute, I'm really enjoying it, you know.
It is. You're right, though. Like you're right to steer clear, Chris, because if you don't like the surface level aesthetic of it, it does lean into it very hard as well. So it is very likely that you're making the right decision staying away from the game. Ask me what I've been playing. I've been playing one that's not on the docket list.
Fine, mate.
What have you been
Funny you should ask. I've been playing Pyre. Didn't expect that, did you? Except you would have done if you're on the Discord, because you would have seen it up on the side. It tells people what I'm playing. I've been playing Pyre for one reason. Hades 2 came out in its technical test, and people were applauding and like giving all their all their plaudits to Supergiant for how good Hades and Hades 2 were, and then there was one little comment underneath that said, yeah, they're really good, but I think Pyre was better. And I was like, oh, I've never played Pyre. I loved like Supergiant's other work, but that one I just skipped over entirely, and I can't even remember why. Pyre came out in 2017 from Supergiant, and it is a game I've been playing this week. I'm going to do a review on it, so I will cover it properly and thoroughly. But it is very unusual because it's got an awful lot of Supergiants. Like, no, it's not better than Hades. It's not better than Hades. I can tell you that much already. It's got weirdly conflicting styles because it's given like it's got their storytelling kind of style and presentation, but when you get into actually like the core gameplay, it plays out as a strange little esport. So you've got this magical setting, this cast of characters that are like, again, much like Hades, trying to earn their freedom by going through this sequence of events or whatever. But when it comes down to it, you get to a certain location, it goes, right, it's fighting time to progress the story in this big ritual, these rites that it has. And it's like a weird magical basketball thing. You have a team of 3 versus a team of 3 and an orb that you have to dunk into the other team's pyre to expire it. So you can only control one of your 3 characters at a time, and you can pass the ball around to determine which one you're controlling. And it's it caught me off guard being like that, because it kind of, it's just a weird weird mix up of gaming styles. You can play it multiplayer, so it feels like it was made more so to be a mini esport, but then they shoved it into a Supergiant framework, and I can see why people like it. And I like it. Like, it's quite compelling. I'm still going to play it through to the end. But it's weird. Strange that they mix it like that. Pyre is nothing like Potato Painful Discourse, because already loads of things have happened. Loads of things have happened. I've not just sat there for best part of an hour and gone, why did I do that? Stuff happened. I do not like Potato. Sorry, Potato. Pyre is cool, Luke, but it's weird, right? It's it's an esport with a story wrapped around it. Yeah, ask me questions. No questions? Perfect. So, wait for the review, and I'll tell you all about it and show and tell. It's on Steam, so it released on PlayStation 4 and Steam. It didn't come out on Switch or Xbox. It's highly rated on Steam. Like, people do like it that played it, and it's got a lot going for it. It's just a weird mix. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I've been playing. I've also been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I like again. I'm on an upswing with it. I'm enjoying that. I've been playing the Stellar Blade demo so that we can talk about that in a little bit. And I've been playing freaking Chivalry. It was a nightmare this weekend. Had a terrible time on Chivalry because we came up against real players that know how to play the damn thing, and a group of us just kept getting slaughtered over and over and over and over. So Chivalry, we're never playing again. Not strictly true. We'll do it at some point, but it was a hard time.
But if you get on the wrong server.
That's the weird thing. Like any multiplayer game, they're fun if you're winning, and it's a delicate art to make one of those games fun when you're not doing so well. And Chivalry does not make it fun when you're not doing so well. It's just like, oh, murdered. Yeah. So all of those kind of things. But let's do No Rest for the Wicked. So Chris, you spent a bit of time this week. No Rest for the Wicked is from Moon Studio, developers of Ori and the sequel Will o' the Wisps or whatever. Came out into early access on Steam this week, and most people here probably already are vaguely aware of what it is. But tell me about it, Chris. Tell me about your time with it so far.
Yeah, so I think a few people have jumped on it in the Discord. Really good game, kind of like an action RPG. Obviously, I guess by the camera view and stuff, people liken it to Diablo a bit, but it's not really like Diablo. I didn't really play through it in the sense that like other people were playing, because there was a couple of kind of game breaking bugs that could occur where it like delete your save. I think it happened to Gamsley. At one point, I think it was 3.5 hours in or something like that. So what I was doing is I was just playing around with the combat. I just wanted to kind of get an idea of what the combat's like, and it's really nicely weighted. You know, everything feels like it's got a purpose. you can't just kind of run in and devil's door it and just kind of slash and hack your way through it, because obviously you've got stamina, and the stamina kind of wears away. It depends on different moves. So if you do a heavy attack, obviously it takes a big chunk of stamina away. Your kind of normal or light attack, just one after the other, will take your stamina away quick enough where you can't kind of hack and slash it. If an enemy blocks you, if they've got a shield or they parry, that takes your stamina away. You roll out the way, takes a lot of stamina away. So there's quite a strategic element to the fights. And it gets even more tricky when you come across like two enemies at the same time. So you've got to kind of parry block, then attack one of them, kind of move away. And the whole combat system is just really nicely, as I say, weighted. Feels like it's purposeful. It's obviously an animated based combat system as well, so it's not just kind of like you can interrupt a move or animation with another kind of attack. It kind of needs to finish its swing and things like that. So I just did a lot of like exploring, trying to find secrets and stuff, but just tried the combat system over and over again. Kind of obviously died, respawned, and a lot of people are saying that it's like a Souls game. It's not. It's not really like a Souls game. Obviously, you can save your checkpoint and you come back at the checkpoint, and it's not like you're rewarded. Or at this moment in time, you're not rewarded for that death, other than understanding how like the enemy may act and stuff. You've got like guys who throw fire bombs at you, but it just looks incredible. I mean, I obviously saw the Digital Foundry thing where John Lineman was talking about it, like not running very well on high-end PCs and stuff like that. This I came across like a couple of rare kind of traversal stutters. And obviously the good thing is Moon have been like hotfixing it. I think since release it's had like 4 hotfixes. So I think they fixed like the kind of game save kill and bug. Some weight and things, some performance issues, some other things. Looks incredible. I think it kind of does what Ori does, where it kind of runs internally at like that 6K res because of all the paint, like the painting artwork. I think it has to run at that resolution to get the fidelity and things like that. So obviously, no DLSS or anything. There's a bit of resolution scaling, but it didn't really seem to work for me. So I don't know if they fixed that. I think Lineman was talking about you can actually go into the game, alter the different axes, what percentage, and you'll see it kind of in real time changing. But it wasn't for me. But it was running okay. I think I was getting lows of like 80 odd FPS and highs of like the 120 mark. And as I say, there was a couple of like traversal stutters, but nothing. I mean, I'm not having a pop at John, but I was going to say nothing I would make a video about. But it sounds like I'm having a pop at him. And I really like Digital Foundry, and obviously you're a gamer crew and stuff like that. Joe, I used to know a lot of the editors and stuff, so. But I think, I think when it's really obvious, like you were saying, Asa, about kind of like Unreal having an issue with, with like shader compilation and stuff like that, and then obviously more and more devs do the kind of pre-compiling of the shaders, and then you kind of negate that issue. I think it's worth mentioning stuff like that because I think it's always nice to give a nod to like the devs doing things right. And I'm not saying it's got any kind of shader compilation issues or anything, and Moon are doing stuff wrong, because it's an incredible studio, and obviously the Ori games have been brilliant. Looks incredible. Animation from top to bottom. The weather, you'd be pleased to know, was really, really nice. The kind of like day and night cycles
That's all
and
I
stuff
need.
like
Give me the rain.
just everything about it is just beautiful, and I think it's really good to see how quick they're banging out hot fixes. Obviously, I was reading some stuff earlier today saying the devs are kind of firefighting the mixed reviews on Steam. But I mean, I'd be less concerned. It's not like it's a shit game, and I mean, Cyberpunk's reviews were woeful on Steam, and now you look at it, everyone's loving it. I know it's taken a while for them to fix it. I'm not saying they should take that long to fix it, but it's early access. You know, they've come out, they've been honest, they've gone, it's early access. You know what you're getting yourself in for and stuff, but at least they're hot fixing it. Which you know is more. It can be more. It's more than what like Ubisoft have been doing on Skull and Bones. You know, there's still a couple of like shader bugs and stuff that have been from day one on Skull and Bones for me, which still happen for other people. And even like Dragon's Dogma, you know, something as something as big as that. You know, you can't even fucking change your vocation without it crashing. So
yeah. I guess like for them, with if the reviews are mixed because of performance issues in early access and all the rest of it, the biggest problem with that is you can very quickly get buried on Steam.
Yeah.
So, are they? To be fair, is it Private Division that are publishing it? I can't remember. They must have spent a fair amount because I've seen a lot of adverts through it on the old Twitter feeds and stuff.
Yeah, Private Division. They're doing quite a few things at the minute as well. Yeah. So.
Patrick's just gifted 5 memberships to people there. So, Patrick, you're a saint. Can only say I appreciate that. Thank you. Everyone that's just got that, welcome along. Check the Discord out. It is just as fun as Darge keeps on telling you that it is.
It is fun.
It is. So the combat in No Rest for the Wicked, the parrying and the dodging, is it quite strict? How tight is the kind of window for a successful parry?
Yeah, it needs a bit of skill, and obviously, you know, the different enemies will attack slightly different. So they give telegraph it a little bit, like they're going to go into an attack, but you might get like the first swing that you need to dodge and the second that you parry, or the first you parry to stop the second and stuff like that. So it is quite strict. It's not just kind of you can bash the parry button and luckily you'll do it. You do have to time it quite nicely. But I like all that stuff. I like the kind of the strategy and the strategic element of combat. It feels a bit more. It's a bit more like Kingdom Come Deliverance. If people have played that, and even like Chivalry. You need to parry at the right time and counter attack and things like that.
You're already better at Chivalry than I am. Just
all of that comes into play nicely. Yeah, all of that stuff comes into play nicely. And I remember like a lot of people when they first started playing Kingdom Come Deliverance or whatever, just saying the combat was so difficult, but it was all modeled on proper like medieval fighting and stuff like that. So you needed to parry in the right way and then counter and things like that. So there's an element of that, but obviously from different camera angle and a bit more fantastical. But just it's an awesome game. I'm looking forward to like jumping back in. It's just work's got in the got kind of heavily in the way, and then obviously the steplad's had his birthday at the weekend and stuff like that. So we've been on a bit of like celebratory stuff, bowling and whatnot. But yeah, now that the kind of hot fixes have gone in and stuff like that, I can jump back in and hopefully not lose a save like Gamsley did.
So you planning when you jump back in? Are you planning to actually try and push through the game, make progress through it, or?
Yeah, I'll give a proper bit of progress. I'll probably kind of start character. It's got some light character creation in, which is quite good. So different heads, hairs, skin tones and stuff like that. You have this kind of like standard body. It's almost like big torso and big arms and like little legs. It's a bit mad, like and then like female, male. But yeah, nice bit of customization, and then there's plenty of loot pickups and different armor and clothing. Your swords and your weapons as well obviously get kind of damaged and dull over time, so you need to kind of collect elements to like resharpen them and get different weapons and that. So yeah, definitely got to jump back in and try and push through it now. The kind of save issue seems to have been fixed.
Darge, I don't want to incite fear in you, but I think you're missing out. When are you going to play No Rest for the Wicked?
Oh, do you know what? I was going to say, literally, like, look, leading up Moon Studios, Ori, both of them loved him. Love their art styles and that, like, what they do. And then see this. I see the comparisons with Diablo, the ARPG thing. And then, like Chris said, obviously, he's played the game, but I see some people comparing it with the Souls Souls-like, and I think that's because of the timed parry, because I think timed parrying now just gets instantly associated with Dark Souls, right? Where it's like, oh no, that's Dark Souls. That, you know, you got to time your parry. You got to time a parry in Jedi Survivor. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't like in our Discord really gassing about it was Satama, lovely Satama, and Gamsley. He's lovely as well. I know he'll feel left out. Yeah, they got their own little forum in our Discord now where they're like, like they're just banging around. They're loving it, and obviously, like Chris said, you know, there was some issues at the start where people were losing progress and having to start again and stuff like that. And like going back to our topic last week about, you know, early access sort of stuff and this, that, and the other. This is an early access game. From what I've heard about certain bugs and issues, we've had non-early access games release in these sort of states and charge you a full price for it. I'm not condoning the state. We all know about the state of games today, but you know, it came out on Friday. I think it came out, or maybe just before then. But it's nice to see they've already had 2 patches released. They're on it, you know, and you know, sometimes part of me thinks, you know, with an early access title, they could hold back on certain things. I don't think they would, but you could hold back on it. So as soon as the game hits, go, all right, we're on it. There's the first patch, like there's the second patch. But I don't think that's the case. But it's nice to see and going forward. Like I say, with the game in general. Well, I'm a pessimist, you know. It's just how I am. Xbox have made me this way, you know. So that's the reason I'm the way I am. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, with regards to the game itself, I've kind of stayed blinkered because of my FOMO. Because if I see or hear too much, then I will stop everything and jump into it. So yeah, it's really good hearing. Obviously, me and Chris speak daily. You know what I mean? Like, so he's a big fan of it. Gamsley, Satama, you know, like obviously they're gassing about it, and even I think
Dave played it. Dave played it obviously a lot more than me, and in a more kind of normal way or whatever. So
yeah, but like even Luke still, like he's a good gazer as well. He's been playing it. He's full of praise for it in the early days and stuff like that. So it's positive, you know. But I can't, you know, I've got to stay on track, you know. So I ain't really got much to offer other than really interested in it when it launched. It's launched well as far as I'm concerned, and I'll probably end up owning it before I go to bed tonight. But that's about what I've got.
I believe you will as well. You know me, I'm avoiding the early access unless I decide that I need to make a video on it, or if we're going to keep on talking about it here, I'm happy to wait because I don't want to play through with the bugs. I don't want to play through with the like everything not being perfectly refined because I'm probably only going to play through it once. So I will wait until it comes out and play through it at its best. Same as Hades 2. I'm stubborn and often an arsehole, but that's unrelated. I don't know why I said that. I'm quite nice sometimes. So that's no rest for the wicked. A bunch of you have probably been playing it. If you have been playing it and you're there in chat and you want to yell things about it, if it's good, if it's bad, if it's amazing, whatever else, tell us about it. Flush Jackson's bought it. I'm sure various other people have as well. For me, tell me about difficulty actually. I know I've asked both of you this before, but I can't hold every little thing all of the time. So tell me, does the fact that it's difficult, Darge, you can go first. Does the fact that it's difficult entice you more, or is that an off-putting thing?
I mean, you know, I own Dark Souls games. I'm shit at them, so you know, I'll give it a go. I don't feel that it's. I don't know. I don't want to speak too soon. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't put me off. Put it that way. You know, because
level of difficulty. It's not like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, you hear. You know, if you judged everything on everyone else's opinion, you probably wouldn't do a lot. You know what I mean? So you still got to work out for yourself, like what your levels are. So I'd still get the game. I think like that 10% of gamer that I am today, I think I'd probably get on with it, you know, one way or the other. But yeah, no, it wouldn't deter. Like difficulty wouldn't deter me. You know, Elden Ring, I bought it day one, was in it for 3 hours, got smashed to pieces, never touched it again for 2 years. You know what I mean? But I still bought it. You got to try it, ain't you? You know.
Well, what about you, Chris?
I mean, to be fair, sorry, I was just literally going to add. To be fair, I bought Elden Ring and probably played it for like 2 hours.
So you do get the FOMO. You were looking at the beginning, like just 20 minutes ago. I'm immune to FOMO. Bought Elden Ring though, didn't you?
I
Um,
We
bought
all
it on
bought.
release
We all
day
bought.
because
Yeah.
we all bought Elden Ring, but my brother
Everyone bought it.
put like a gazillion hours into it, and I didn't. But I'm pretty sure it was around. Darge will know it was around my non-gaming hiatus, wasn't it, Darge? There was a
Yeah.
period where I wasn't playing anything. So
No, no. I think everyone bought Elden Ring, like, because obviously Dark Souls is Dark Souls, and then I remember, when it got shown off. I think it was at an Xbox showcase when it got shown off, and was it? It was done in collaboration with, I don't know the authors. Is it the Oh fuck me, I've forgotten his name. The guy from Game of Thrones. Is it him? George R.R.
oh,
Martin.
George
and
R. R.
that? Was
Martin,
he
you're back on
involved in
Elden
it?
Ring. Yeah.
I think
Kinda.
Elden Ring, yeah, just going back to that, I think everyone bought it because it was like whipped up. Like, it was like, oh, it's just going to be sick. And everyone was like, oh, come on in. Like that. And then I think a lot of people probably dropped it. It might have just been me and Chris, though. You never know.
Yeah. Speaking of Souls likes, I've seen a fair amount of discussion on whether Stellar Blade is a Souls like or not. That comes out this Friday, which means we need to talk about it a little bit. I know neither of you have engaged with the demo and aren't particularly interested in getting the game when it comes out. I was unsure about it, and I played the demo immediately prior to this show so that I could at least know what I was talking about when it came to this topic a little bit. So, I don't know why there's a weird conversation about whether or not it's Souls-like. It has a lot in common with Souls games. It's fair to call it Souls-like, I would say. It surprised me going into it because Eve, the main character, has a weirdly posh accent for one thing, which is neither here nor there. But it was a bit jarring when she started speaking. The game's weird. I'm undecided on how much I do or don't like it because it's I guess if I were to liken it to other games that are around, I was expecting it to be kind of like Devil May Cry with a parry system, but it doesn't. It's not as fluid as Devil May Cry. The fluidity sits somewhere between like Lies of P and Devil May Cry. So you can hack and slash a bit, and you can get in and mush, but it has relatively tight dodge and parry windows as well. The enemy designs are quite interesting. The levels are very linear. This is only the demo, so it could change in the main thing, but considering the developer said it was an open world, it's definitely not an open world. It's very, very linear and has an awful lot of scripted events everywhere you go. So the demo sticks you in like a
wobbly bomb.
I didn't have time to go up and down the ladder because I was we had a podcast to do, so I just had to climb up it the once and carry on with the game. So I'll check that out and let you know. It has so the start of the game it gives you this bombastic intro where you can't really pass and fail, which is normal for games. I'm an idiot though, so I'm quite resilient to doing what I'm supposed to. So you land in your little airpod and it's like, press R2 to knock open the hatch door, and it's got a little timer. So I'm like, I don't think I will. And that time's out, and then somebody else opens the door for you, and they're like, take my hand, press R2. Nah, don't think I will. And you're running through all these explosions, and it's like, don't stop, you can't stop. Let's see what happens if I stop, and everything just kind of pauses for you. But yeah, well, I do. I like to see what happens when you disobey instructions like that. But it handles it relatively smoothly, and the game works. But much like Lies of P, it's very reliant on its parries, and I want to parry everything. I like a good parry system in a game, but it gets to me when things are like falsely telegraphed. And even the basic enemies on these ones, well, I think it's trying too hard to be nice, because you get these little like scorpion-tailed bastards, and they'll raise their tail to say, I'm going to attack. And they'll keep it up for like 4 seconds before they do it. And I'm like, no, I parried 3 seconds ago, bastard. So I get hit quite a lot there, and actually did find it moderately difficult as a demo goes for the opening part of the game, but not so difficult that and like get through it and do everything there was to do in there. It's weird. I can't decide how much I like it and whether I want to get it. I definitely don't want to get it for 70 quid on Friday. If I was sitting in bags and bags of cash, I still wouldn't jump into it immediately on Friday, but I do want to get through it at some point. So somewhere down the line. Gamsley, thank you, by the way, for giving us another 5 members there. So that's loads of gifted memberships today, which is awesome. Stellar Blade, though, like, yeah, I mean, that obviously wasn't a very in-depth impression piece because I've only blasted through the hour or whatever there is of demo. But anything that you're curious about from a little time with it?
I'm curious about when it will come to PC, because I'm not obviously going to get a PlayStation. So they haven't announced anything regarding the PC yet, right?
They have not, no.
But in regards to am I anticipating anything? I mean, it might just be another game that I play. I won't be sitting there on a ladder fucking with my trousers around my ankles watching it, you know what I mean? But hearing you talk about it kind of sounds like what it looks like, you know what I mean? And I'd probably get round to it. It's not something that's on my radar, so to speak, because like I see that and I think like Nier, like Automata or however they say it. That sort of game, they look great, you know, and Nier does look great, but I've never played it. So it's like one of those games that I admire from a distance, not in a pervy way, but I admire it from a distance and think, yeah, you know, maybe that, and I'll just never get round to it, you know. But yeah, obviously, first and foremostly, I'd like to know if it's coming to PC at some point, and yeah, and just go for. I've sort of like, whilst all the fanfare's been going off about this one, you know, I know it's one that I'm not gonna get my hands on straight away, so I haven't really paid too much attention to it, you know. But yeah,
I think
we'll see.
that it's more like Lies of P or whatever than
Yeah,
Devil May Cry.
It sits kind of between them, and it sits awkwardly between. Not awkwardly, because that's not a bad place to be. It sits somewhere between Lies of P and Devil May Cry. It's not as good as either, I don't think. But that's not to say that it's a bad game. It just doesn't quite like Lies of P. I didn't love. It does some things really, really well though. Stellar Blade is combat-wise a similar standard to Lies of P. It's got some awesome, like, it's pretty spectacular when it gets going. Very flashy. When you do parry, it's got this nice little like orange lightning that comes off, and when you perfect dodge, it's got this little slow motion bullet time thing, and it is quite satisfying when it works. So I do I like it enough that I want to play it. I don't know, something didn't quite make me insist that I play it right away.
Yeah, give it a go when it comes to PC or
yeah. It's interesting, like where you said, you know, like, because from what I have seen, I see like that really fast-paced, whippy, might be because it's relevant to me at the minute, but like the Final Fantasy sort of quick, like hits sort of thing. But then obviously Lies of P is another one that I've done as well. And then you say about the parrying system, so I can see the appeal of that. But like I say, obviously for me, because it's not something I'm going to be able to get hold of first, like day one, I've sort of, you know, just let that one crack on. You know what I mean, so to speak. But yeah, maybe like when you see it in other people's hands, and you know, if there's a little bit of a frenzy getting whipped up, like, oh, you know, it's a really good game, and blah blah blah. Then there's even my FOMO will go through the fucking roof. I'll probably go and buy a PlayStation the next day.
no, don't.
I won't. I won't really.
It's weird as well because the demo, when you finish the demo, it goes through a little trailer for the game, and then it unlocks like a boss fight from later on, so you can just have a little feel for how the game is with a more developed character and all the rest of it. But the boss later on, I found kind of easier than the early enemies, because it stops doing the generous telegraphing and just starts like moving as you would expect. So when it goes to hit you, it tries to hit you, and you know when to parry. I found it much easier to time things when it was attempting to be more difficult. So that was curious, but anyway. That's Stellar Blade, so everyone should buy it immediately or not, because, you know, it's your money, you do what you want. What was our next little topic then? Has anybody else played anything before we go on to the Meta VR conversation?
No, I mean, random. I played a bit of that like Tamagotchi adventure thing on the MacBook Pro, which is also on iPhone or iOS, and it kind of obviously does like a cloud save, so you can pick it up. Quite nice little Animal Crossing adventure type game, quite cute, well developed. So I need to kind of jump back into that and just have a little look at it. That was it really, just in between, because it was one of those things where I could just have a little look at it while I was doing some work, and then I could see what the kind of cloud system was like, you know, onto the iPhone and stuff. It just picks it up perfectly. You crack on and then jump back onto the Mac and stuff. So I'll give that a little bit of a bash. There's a couple of like Apple Arcade games, like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like co-op. game and stuff like that I want to try. But no, I've just been looking at a bit of the news and stuff. I think one of the interesting things that I saw in the news is obviously the studio that was born out of Lionhead when that closed down. Has had to lay a load of people off and stuff, and they've
Delay.
come out and said there's like no money in gaming at the minute. The investors and stuff have kind of
Yeah.
dropped out, which obviously ties in with what's happening with like Tencent and stuff like that. And it's such a weird time or whatever, because everyone was like shit scared of Tencent obviously just coming in and buying everything. And I think they've kind of like broken before a lot of the others, considering they had this kind of like bottomless pit of money. But yeah, that's a real shame if there's a lot of investment pulling out of games, but it doesn't surprise me because, as we know, they're getting more expensive and there's not enough of the current gen consoles out there, I think, to guarantee you kind of return on investment and stuff. So that's going to be the tricky thing. I'm not sure whether the PS5 Pro is going to fix it. And so on and so forth. So it would be interesting to see what happens with that side of things.
It's the
Because we
same
definitely want
thing.
more studios and more creative, but
Yeah, First
haven't
Contact
got.
cited the same thing when they closed, that investment just like isn't there at the moment. People aren't interested in pumping money into video games because of the way that it's been shrinking lately. But speaking of though, actually didn't mention before it, but the whole Embracer restructuring happened this week as well, right? The splitting off Middle-earth and Friends, Coffee Stain, and
With some catchy
some random
names.
string letters. Yeah, really weird names. What do you think they're angling towards? What's going to happen with these three Embracer broken off businesses?
Don't know. I mean, from a business standpoint, I wonder whether they're just going to try and put a bit of like autonomy into autonomous,
Autonomy, yeah.
running it into each of those kind of sections. Obviously, they're talking about. I think it was like the Middle Earth, whatever, and Friends was going to be
Middle-earth and
like Tomb
Friends.
Raider, and
The Friends is Lara Croft.
like,
Yeah, it's weird.
yeah. Middle Earth and Friends. So I think that was going to be like the Lara Croft stuff and so on. Some of the others were going to be like mobile, and the other one was going to be, I think, was the other one like sport or RPGs or something.
The
But
split
there could be a
was
bit of,
mobile,
there
AA
could be,
indie, and AAA. Yeah.
yeah, that was it. So I think there's an element of autonomy there. I think, does it help them balance the books a little bit better as a business? They could see exactly where kind of investment is going and who's performing what. But I know quite a few like ex-Sony people that went to Embracer. They opened, I think they opened kind of like a mini HQ or office in Liverpool. They were doing kind of lots of stuff, and it was the whole. I think remember the whole narrative around the Activision deal and stuff was kind of like, well, if Microsoft didn't pick them up, Embracer were going to, but I find that highly, highly unlikely given what's happening. But it's a worrying trend in terms of like the investment in the market and stuff like that. Because obviously, I know a few people who've secured investments over the last 12 months, and it's kind of weird, like conversations a couple of weeks ago and stuff, and these are kind of relationships that they've got with, um, private equity houses and things like that, and investment groups who have been in gaming a long time. And like a couple of weeks ago, they were saying that they wouldn't if if it was now, they would have invested, even though they know them. They've got
Yeah.
relationships. They've had good returns from those relationships. So it's definitely drying up a bit, and I don't know whether there's a bit of uncertainty in the global market with all these potential like wars going on. I don't think it's just there's not as much hardware out there and things like that, because obviously PC market's different. I think everyone kind of makes the money on consoles, and I think that's in influx at the minute. So yeah, I think a lot of people are just being a bit tight with the purse strings, and loads of people have like really off put by games costing like $500 million and $1 billion and stuff like that. You're just not going to get that funding. So that's the worry, really. Obviously, we need more people to to release. I mean, obviously we've got the indie showcase coming up. I know it's Xbox centric, the ID thing, but it's supposed to be like 80 odd games in that or whatever. So we do need more of those like really nicely polished indie games. To kind of help the market out a bit.
Right there, just as you mentioned, like Xbox are obviously for some reason partnering with IGN to do their idea Xbox thing. I will quickly shout out Wandering Dutch, and I very rarely do shout outs, but Wandering Dutch on Saturday is doing his regular annual indie showcase as well. He puts a hell of a lot of effort into that. That's at 7 o'clock on Saturday UK time, which I will be doing my best to try and watch as much of that as I can, because he does actually put on a good show. Very well paced, loads of games in there.
On there with him as well.
Yeah, and more importantly, Deadly Headley is going to appear as well.
And our very own, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Darge.
Yes, mate.
Embracer, Crystal Dynamics, IDOS, Middle Earth, and Friends.
I don't, like, yeah, I mean, business, Chris is your man. Like, he's gone into it. He's a businessman himself. Excuse me. There'd be a reason for it. Whether or not it's to, like I see Luke still in there saying about shares, share price being depressed for a while, and it's an holding company. They've obviously offloaded some of the more prized assets that they had with like Gearbox and was it Volition or whatever. They've obviously got themselves into a position where they've gone, right, okay, if we restructure like this, it will be a lot more beneficial for us going forward. But yeah, I mean, it was a complete shit show from the get-go, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like when they were buying people up on the promise of money that ultimately never came in the end for them. So, like I say, without really, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some business analyst and start telling you why they've done it, because I haven't got a clue. But hopefully, for all the teams that they have under their umbrella, it's for the benefit of those going forward and security of those going forward. But yeah, they need to start. Like when Chris said, obviously, I see an article the other day on Sky News over here about like, oh, you know, why is the arse fell out of the gaming industry, so to speak? And it isn't so much that it has, it's the date. I mean, me and Chris, I was sending Chris screenshots of the article, and it's all there in the article. They spoke to a dev who had been laid off, but he had said like something like $20 billion just in that 1 year in profit, like on the year-on-year profit just for COVID. Yeah, so with that, it's a thriving industry. Let's chuck a load of money at it. Let's acquire teams. Let's hire more people with remote working, this, that, and the other. And ultimately, when it comes back to normal, there's going to be axe swinging, so to speak. And it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. And maybe that's why the Embracer money never actually turned up in the end, because they looked at it after the buzz, or, you know, the buzz of the gaming industry during COVID, and was like, oh, this would be a wise investment. But when it had settled down, they were like, actually, it's probably not, you know. And like I say, you know, my overarching thing is that hopefully going forward, the teams that they have remaining are secure and can, you know, just carry on business as normal, hopefully.
Right. Mentioned there really briefly. Really briefly, we talked about Xbox are doing this thing with IGN, their Idea Xbox Indie Showcase. Chris, why are they doing it with IGN? Xbox don't need IGN for eyes on their Indie Showcase, do they?
We've got no idea why they're doing it with IGN. It was it was amusing that like at every opportunity IGN seemed to bash Xbox or whatever, but Xbox seemed to either not give a shit, or it's this like perfectly crafted kind of like gotcha to everyone. So when it's just all about PR and no press is bad press or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
they seem to. It's like it reminds me of the Game Awards, right? Because the Game Awards every year, everyone slates Jeff Keighley and that for never giving much recognition to Microsoft Studios, but Microsoft still put up the thing. They let them use their theatre and all the rest of it, and they have like a pretty significant presence there. Like they want a good relationship with these people. They want a good relationship with IGN because it will suit them in the long run. But I don't know. It doesn't seem too effective. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's like Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? It's like the partner with the abusers. Yeah, it did surprise me that they were doing it with them, but I mean, ultimately they've got a good presence on YouTube. They've got a good presence on socials, whether you like them or not. They cause kind of controversy. I mean, to be fair, weirdly enough, I'm not like the biggest fan of IGN, but I always watch their reviews on YouTube. I'm subscribed, and IGN are quite good for all these kind of like micro shows that happen, and sometimes you miss some of them. They're really good at just going,
Mm.
there's a trailer, there's a trailer, there's a trailer, and I don't need to kind of find stuff. Um, it's when they do all the kind of clickbaity articles and stuff, but I mean, everyone does
Yeah.
them, don't they? But
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
it'd be interesting though. I
Mm.
do like the kind of ID stuff. I do like the indie stuff. Obviously, I was involved in midweek mix up and stuff for a good few years or whatever. So I'll be watching Dutch's show. He always does a good indie showcase, as you say. It'll be interesting to see what Aaron Greenberg's got to say. Obviously, he's been a bit quiet, hasn't he, for a bit? But I presume it'll be very kind of only ask this and only say that potentially.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. I just jumping in like on the IGN thing, like what Chris was saying there. One thing that I do like with IGN is obviously like why Xbox are partner with them is because they tend to get the hands on early. Like with tech, Digital Foundry might get an early look at stuff.
Hmm.
Usually, when a game is in like an early gameplay reveal, if they don't show it themselves, like the developer or the publisher personally, IGN will show it. So that's where that's where I'll come across their videos to see an early look at something. You know what I mean? But whether you like it or not, IGN are like the big sort of name, really, aren't they, in the gaming news space? So partnering with them, hopefully, they get advertisement for the showcase through IGN that can go out into other places. All just part of the game, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like you have to, like you say about Jeff Keighley and the Video Game Awards. You know what I mean? You have to lay with these people sometimes. You know what I mean? To get a leg up. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to sleep with the devil. But yeah, listen. It ain't going to hurt them, is it, at the end of the day, being affiliated with
But what was that?
IGN
It'll
for
get
this
coverage, won't it?
showcase? I think they said that I think they said there's about 80 games on the
Yeah, yeah.
show at this thing, and they showed a few. Do you know what, mate? I've tuned out. I can't think. But usually the idea Xbox showcases, they're good. There's always some little hidden gems in there, and that. So I'm looking forward to watching the show. Yeah, just the fact that it's labelled with IGN don't really affect me. So hopefully it's worth it for them.
Hopefully it affects the next Gears of War review score or something like that. I don't know. Like, make
No
nice
chance.
with them. Let's move on from that. Deciding, do I want to touch on? No, I don't. Let's go on to Meta. So, out of the blue, totally unexpected by most, Meta and Mark Zuckerberg came out today or yesterday to announce that they are shifting direction with the MetaQuest operating system. They're opening up the MetaQuest operating system to third-party partners, calling it Meta Horizon OS, and basically allowing other manufacturers to make Quest headsets. They cited that open platforms typically win out in the long run, and the example that they gave, I think, was Windows, which is not entirely the direction they appear to be going with it. But before I go into it too much more than that, Chris, what are your thoughts on the announcement and stuff you want to add to that?
I mean, obviously, the thing which was interesting, and it's not to say anything's going to happen, but obviously Zuck mentioned the kind of Xbox, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's some conversations going on, whether that means Xbox kind of release their own Quest or whether it forms part of like the potential kind of open platform strategy that Xbox may touch upon as they move forward. Obviously, we've spoken about handhelds, and is it going to be a bit of a kind of hybrid PC operating system? Because obviously we've seen the stuff on Steam. If it is, does then that mean the likes of ASUS and stuff could, obviously because they're looking at releasing their own headset, they've had fairly good success with the ROG Ally in terms of the handhelds. I think if you look at that compared to some of the others, obviously MSI Claws being absolutely annihilated. So I think that's a steer clear. Gamers Nexus is all you need to watch on that to have any idea of how kind of poor it is. And it's not just the performance level of it, it's like the operating system makes no sense, like the overlay stuff, it doesn't work. I think Steve was saying there's a lot of it which seems to like it would make sense for like MSI's devs, but not the consumer, and things like that. So they've had good success in terms of a powerful handheld. Obviously, Steam Deck has had huge success. So it'd be interesting to see, why he was referencing Xbox. Was he just trying to flatter them a bit? Was it one of those?
There's a couple more details on the Xbox thing that I think I've picked up from various places and things that he said. So specifically on them, he said that there is hardware coming from ASUS, so a ROG gaming premium headset. There's hardware coming from Lenovo. He didn't really specify the use case, but there's a couple of things he said around the Xbox One. He just mentioned Xbox as a partner, but in other words that have been released around it, he said mention of a limited edition Xbox inspired Quest was the wording that was used. So there's something that you can take from that being limited edition, but they also said he reeled off a load of examples of what the partnership could mean with other hardware vendors and how it could be like Quest headsets powered by the Quest, the Meta Horizon OS, but for different purposes. Like you might get a really lightweight, sweat absorbent one for exercise, or one with really nice screens that's intended for desktop, or one that specifically has an Xbox controller and a Game Pass subscription. And he said that, and that's almost certainly the first thing when they said Xbox. I was like, well, Xbox aren't suddenly going to do VR games, but they're going to do letting people stream with an Xbox controller, and this is probably, and it's disappointing to me, but that's probably going to be the extent of it. Doesn't necessarily have to be though, because obviously the hardware's there, the software's there, and they could use this thing and release VR games. But Darge, would you think that's at all likely, and would you want Microsoft to do that?
We obviously, as you know, I don't really care about VR personally. I know that hurts you, but I just don't. And but I spoke about it with Chronic and Kev, Sexy Kev, in the Discord before we come live, and we spoke about the possibilities. And Chronic was saying about the Prey Dog. Is it the Prey Dog mod for UE5 games? How you could take a pancake game, as you call it, and then turn it into a VR game. And I said, like, if Xbox were to do that, porting games to VR, to have a partnership with Quest and this, that, and the other, obviously they wouldn't just run a mod. They'd have development teams working on a VR version of the game as best it could be. And I said, the chances are we would have heard about it, in some form or the other, So I don't think it's going to happen. I think your idea, or like what you were saying, Zuckerberg was saying, regarding a controller in the hand, and obviously I think is it xCloud or Game Pass that's baked into Quest's software now? The cloud gaming, so they got that there,
linked, right? Game Pass is the main thing that you can access from its cloud. So
so I don't I don't really know, but obviously you can get the cloud, so you have Xbox on the headset, making your own Xbox branded headset. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, it's not like, for me, it won't make me go and buy one. You know what I mean? It might make people go and buy one. But like I said,
would you buy one if I did an Urban Zoo headset?
Yeah, but that's because I'm a supportive friend. Xbox don't need my support. But like I said to you, the funny thing, obviously, when I said to you about the ROG making a headset, ASUS. It's weird. It's not weird, but what it tells me is VR is not quite dead. The PSVR 2 sales dwindled, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead." But if they're still producing hardware, there must be something there that they're seeing that could take off slightly. So.
Unless it's more of the alternative reality stuff, like the Apple,
like the HoloLens type.
Yeah, well, like the Apple stuff, isn't it? Where it's not necessarily VR; it's a bit of that hybrid
AR.
Yeah. So Quest 3 had like quite a focus on the augmented reality, the mixed reality, as well as being a VR headset. Apple obviously have a big focus on that. But the other thing, when you talk about VR, like its current status and whether it's got much going on in the future, the reason, or the likely reason, that Meta are announcing this at this point in time is it's expected that within the next month or two, Google and Samsung are going to announce their headset, and they're like, essentially what Meta are doing here with their operating system is the Android play. It's set up very much like they reference Windows as open platforms always win, but the way that they're positioning their store on it is a lot more akin to Android. And you'd fully expect that Google are also going to come out with this Android approach where they're partnering with Samsung for the first one. They're also going to have other partners working on it, bringing out these various different headsets. So I think more headsets is like quite inevitable for the near to mid future. Whether they see any success, whether it grows as a result of that, I obviously hope so, but it's encouraging in light of all the negative news that there's been around VR. It doesn't necessarily help the areas that I like, the PC VR and the console VR and all that kind of stuff, but technology doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. Sorry everybody that hates it. I'm not sorry.
Get those travel sickness tablets in stock.
It's all you need, and you can fully immerse yourself. It's the best way to play games. Best way. And I haven't done it for ages. I'm a dick. I need to get on my treadmill. It's got old Sega Saturn and PlayStation games all over it at the moment. Need to brush that thing off and get running. But
saying about travel sickness, I've noted I've been getting travel sickness sitting on the passenger side of a car now. Can't do it. Horrible stuff, travel sickness. I don't know. You said you some pills you taking it, Asa, to do the VR?
Yeah, I got some pills.
I've got some pills are a shortcut. If anyone is trying VR and you get that motion sickness going on, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can eat some ginger, you can like have a fan on your face and all the rest of it. Massive shortcut, just take travel sickness tablets. They're harmless and they will make you feel just fine playing your VR. Obviously you don't want to be drugged up every day or whatever, but couple of milestone messages. Ginger didn't work. It's not that potent, ginger, but fans are the biggest one, like natural. So Baz,
you don't want to be.
No, sorry, Darge. Sorry, Darge.
Being transported back to the dark time.
Baz has given us a 9-month member milestone. Nice big gold icon there, Baz. That's a long time to be subscribed, so thank you for that. Evening to the best gaming podcast channel. He's not wrong. It is the evening. Tony, also a member for 9 months, also a fancy gold badge. Tony should have had a unique little animation that I didn't see either. Apple VR equals skull and crossbones emoji thing. Haven't seen an Asa VR stream in 84 years. Oh, Tony, do you want to see a VR stream? Should I be doing that? I thought you just wanted to play VR. So Tony has the VR and the PC VR as well. And we're supposed to sit and play games or stand and play games or run around or play games. But streaming VR is quite challenging. I can do it. Just makes it take a bit longer to get into. Anyway.
The only thing I really want to play, and I've actually got the channel in my Discord, is that VTOL VR. But that would definitely make me feel travel sick, so
yeah,
I need to pop some pills and try that. But it looks awesome, and obviously it gets covered quite a bit by Operator Drewski, I think, on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. I think, Tony and Chronic have been having a go on the Half-Life Alyx, and we've got plans for many VR games that just need to get on with, really. But I probably won't stream those, Tony. It's more likely to just get on with it if we just stick the headset on and play. So that's my plan for the time being. Let's do, I don't know, what should we do? Darge, it's probably a good time for your competition, isn't it?
Yeah, I found my little app. Yeah. So I'll put all the names. So I'll put all the names because we done it on a spinny wheel last time, and I said to Asa, if I share my screen, will it fuck the stream up? And he said, yeah, it will. So I said, all right, we go old school. So we put all the names in there.
What a brand of buckets that does.
That is a Dino figurine playset bucket.
Can we have a look at the image on it?
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah. Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah, you can do.
It's for a copy of Zal.
Pieces.
It's for a copy of Zal Tales of Kenzera. But if you don't want that and you want the bucket, that can be arranged. So anyway. All of the community members of our Discord, supporters of Asa, and the channel. They're in here. Obviously, the ones who have been gifted memberships, you ain't in here because I couldn't see the future. So you'll be on the
You
next
said
month's
I
one.
wasn't in there either.
You are in there. Tony's not in there. No, Tony is in there. I'm only joking. It's just because Tony won last time. Anyway, yeah. Give it a little win at one of them, yeah? Right. I ain't even going to look.
Has it been tipped into the hat now? Did the Dino bucket?
Nah, the Dino. I've got one in my hand, yeah, so I ain't going to. Let me. Yeah. Right.
Feels like it's a fix, like a Champions League draw this.
So the winner is that back to front? Scott Z. Scott Z. He's a member of ours, yeah? So Scott Z, you're the winner. And
congratulations, Scott Z.
That's for the 4th round of the FA Cup. I feel like Alan Shearer.
We need to upgrade this. We need to upgrade this to those see-through balls.
I'll get like a bingo, like the old bingo one. Do that and let a little ball drop out, and yeah, that's fine. But anyway, so that's that. Scott C, I'll hit you up on Discord, and then next month's a bit dry. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you. So I might take some suggestions for next month's giveaway if you want to leave comments on this video, or if you're in the Discord in the giveaways channel, maybe.
He's suddenly gone silent. You're gone. He'll be back. In the meantime, he will be back. In the meantime, I think we're going to rely on our community questions to give us some juicy topics for the rest of the show. So either if you could give us some indication of how many questions there are, but also bring up the first one. Oh, that's quick.
She's on it. You were hoping that Darge's tournament was going to take longer then.
No, I'm happy with that.
10 seconds.
No, these questions normally go. We normally get some good
excitement.
ones. This is exciting. Watching him struggle. Sorry, Darge.
Watching him square with no sound. We can't hear Darge.
You're gonna have to have the shit, mate. Sorry.
Oh no.
Anyway,
sorry,
so I don't know where did it. Oh no, sorry. Where did it?
YouTube's gonna demonetize this podcast now because of that mic.
Where did it cut out?
It's all right. We got everything. I think you were just talking about something else. Oh no, you were saying it was a bit dry and then it cut out.
Yeah, I said May is looking a bit dry from my eye. Anyway, so if you want to suggest anything, leave a comment on the channel for the giveaway next month, or if you're in the Discord, just make your suggestions in there because I ain't got a clue at the minute.
I might do a competition and give away a copy of Manor Lords.
I might give away this shirt. I might give away this shirt with a silver marker and sign it if someone wants it. I'm sure I'll be.
Hades 2 tech test and just have Ace's name in the bucket.
Sadly, that's illegal. I can't win the competitions.
Right.
Right, let's have our first question. Stephen Southwick has asked, with Xbox games seemingly running better on PlayStation 5, does it show that the Series S is having an impact on Series consoles? And if not, why do you think these games are running better on the PlayStation 5? What's going on, Chris?
It'll just be the development, the SDKs. I think I've said this for years and years and years. Like Sony and PlayStation's SDK is just glorious to work with. Just so good. Kind of does what it says on the tin. Really well optimized, and you've obviously got the technology group as well that kind of do help where required. I don't necessarily think it's anything to do with like the Series S and stuff like that. Like, if anything, I think we as a group have touched upon this before. But I think if anything, I think certainly multi-platform games, the primary kind of platform, leading platform is always PlayStation. It just is.
Not for Sea of Thieves and stuff though.
But I think Rare have made kind of PlayStation stuff in the past. I think there's obviously this there's a load of layers to like the XDK or whatever the latest variant is for Microsoft, and a lot of it was relying on the kind of machine learning stuff and things like that, which I think will come good at some point. But it's just a lot easier to kind of port stuff over. I think, yeah, I think it's just one of those things where the tools, like the only time it was a pain in the arse to work on PlayStation was PS3, which I was obviously in the thick of as well. And that was purely just from like a hardware standpoint and stuff like that. It just wasn't easy to kind of get the most out of it. I don't think developers are purposely going, "Oh, we'll leave those kind of shadows a bit iffy and this and that."
Yeah, my best complete outsider guesswork as to, because obviously something's going on. Even Microsoft Studios are not consistently, but some of them are delivering well on the PlayStation. I think Grounded got some testing done today that favoured the Xbox more so, but typically you'd expect, based on the hardware specs, the Xbox to have more of a lead than it does. For me, Sony's biggest advantage in the development space is that their kit targets one single spec of hardware, whereas Microsoft's, and I'm not saying this is the Series S's fault because it's not just the Series S, Microsoft's SDK covers multiple generations as well as a wide range of PC hardware and the Series S and the Series X, so it just cannot laser focus in the same way. But that's not that's never going to change. Like, Microsoft can never walk back to a position where they're doing that with one bit of hardware. Do you think there's any way that they can kind of claw back the performance overhead that they seem to be lacking at the moment?
I think it depends. Obviously, they need to kind of utilize. I mean, Hellblade's going to be an interesting one because it's the first kind of studio that genuinely utilizes all the kind of tools in the repertoire of Microsoft's development kit. So think like Nanite and the machine learning elements and stuff like that. All this kind of stuff that we saw early on, where it was kind of like it's only rendering what's visible on the camera and it kind of de-renders behind the camera and stuff like that. So I think it'll be interesting to see that like properly out, with your own eyes, not like a Digital Foundry, 700% zoom in or whatever. And we know it's 30, we know it's kind of a cinematic decision and things like that, but the fidelity of what we're seeing from that looks incredible. I think it just boils, like, from first-hand experience, I just know how good like Sony's technology group is and stuff. We utilized them. We were an internal studio, and it was kind of, we were having some issues with kind of F1 and even Wipeout and stuff like that. And you could just get the guys in, and they just knew the ins and outs of the hardware, the SDK. What to kind of focus on, how to kind of fix things. And you're right, that kind of like laser focus and stuff. It'll be interesting to see when PS5 Pro comes out, if that has an adverse effect, or whether their SDK and the tools and the support is still decent enough. Obviously, they're going to be targeting a few different SKUs, but yeah, I think Microsoft's whole SDK solution is about the multiple platforms and things like that. I was saying this to Darge the other day. I think as we move forward to next gen and stuff, I'd love to see just two completely different kind of hardware, like paths. So I'd love to see like Sony continue on with AMD, and I'd like to see Xbox move over to either like an Intel solution or an Nvidia stroke whatever solution, and we kind of get back to the kind of SNES and Mega Drive days and stuff, where like Mortal Kombat wouldn't have a particular background on the Mega Drive, but it would on the SNES and things like that. Just not for like any that's better than that and stuff, because as we know, my kind of chosen platform's PC now in the same ways as you guys. But I just think it kind of it's such a finite. Oh well, this shadow is like a pixel, like blurrier than this shadow and stuff. And it's like, if we really got to that where we're kind of like, actually the frame time pacing is pretty similar, the frame rates are pretty similar, VRR kind of fixes stuff on Xbox, it doesn't on this. It's kind of, we've got to that like nitpicking, just nonsense, which is kind of just, it just fucking does my head in.
The difficulty with Microsoft like switching to a different infrastructure architecture or whatever, which is likely that they are. There's been lots of talk about them working with ARM for their handheld or whatever else, and we know that they've re-establish their back compat team, which kind of implies that there are changes coming if they're going to need the back compat team to make things work again. But if they do that, it kind of exacerbates the problem of having too much hardware to support, because they're not going to drop support for the current ones when they make that move. So could be something that lingers for a little while. Darge, you tell me, why are Microsoft's own games not peak performance on their hardware, and what, like, should they be doing anything about that? Is it a problem?
I mean, you know, Sea of Thieves, for example, what's it, like 8-year-old game? 8-year-old game. That's not to discredit it before I get fucking napalm struck in the chat. But what I'm saying is they're probably topping out on Microsoft's side with regards to players. Yeah. So we're just talking console, really, when we say about, you know, performance, you know, improvements, being better than. And they're selling that somewhere else now. So, you know, like Chris said, you know, pixel peeping, you know, all the shadows are slightly better and this, that, and the other. You know, there's people who are going to be emotional about it. Like I said, I agree with you. I know you say about the Series S. I think we all agree that the Series S is a great bit of kit for what it is, for the price it is, and everything else. But it is also something that's in the way. You know what I mean? Something else that has to be developed on. Yeah, like I say, Xbox do day and date. So they have to do their PC, get that PC right. They have to get the console right. They have to get both of the consoles right. And I don't know what else has to go into the cloud side of things, if anything, because I know that their server racks are Series X's, I think, or whatever. There's a lot more that goes into it, you know, whereas with PlayStation, so far, they ain't doing day and date, apart from Helldivers 2. But they have more, their teams have more time, yeah. And it's not to say that Xbox have got more work to do. They have targets to hit, you know what I mean? And they'll get that game out. And then when you've only got 8 years later, or whatever it is, work on a version for another system, you know, bearing in mind Sea of Thieves was built based on Xbox One, you know, now they're making it just for a bit of kit. Oh, admittedly, less powerful than the Series X. But what I'm saying is it is just solely dedicated to that. And then it goes out there. And you're pixel peeping, you know, and if you get emotional about that, you know, I don't know what to tell you. But, you know,
Yeah, I think most of the casual or most gamers are going to have one console of choice. So someone on PlayStation is not going to go, it was a couple of frames per second better on my mate's Xbox or whatever, and vice versa.
yeah.
It's only these comparison things that come out, which has obviously become.
Well,
I mean, it's always been
trendy.
around, but it's become
Yeah.
business or whatever for
Yeah.
Digital Foundry and stuff like that. I kind of prefer like Alex Battalia's side of Digital Foundry, where he goes like, these are the optimum settings on PC. This is what like the devs are doing. It's a really good port. You can see what kind of visual and graphic settings are altering in the game and things like that. So I really like his videos where he says,
Yeah.
you need kind of like medium shadows because it has a 10% uplift, and they're really kind of nice to play around with and get the most out of a game, or if it's really poorly optimized. And he'll say so and stuff, but this kind of, as Darge was saying, this kind of like pixel zooming and the shadow was a bit iffy over there and stuff, and it's like VAR, isn't it? It's like slowed down so it's slowed down so much that it looks a million times worse than it was if it was just in full motion and stuff. But it is part and parcel of.
They're never like when they do the because we're just talking console. Because like Chris said, when they do a PC video about a game and optimum settings and this, that, and the other and improvements, obviously PC's a range of spec across the board. You know what I mean? It's all different. With the consoles, you can't really do anything with that. That's the port. Yeah, that's what you're playing. And like Chris said, when they get into the 200 times zoom nitty gritty, it's just, for me, it's just so pedantic. And all it does is fuel madness. You know, like when you're flexing, like I say, some of the people are like, risk it put it well, like risk it. He's saying what I've been saying for the last few weeks. It's another rake that Xbox step on because it's another bad look, you know. But going forward into the next gen, this is why I said to you, I was hopeful that the Series S weren't going to be a thing, and they would just have one piece of hardware, like Chris said, high end, dedicated, just concentrate on that and the PC day one. If they were going to do a handheld, that's a whole different other thing, but Xbox of late have a issue of tripping over their own feet. You know what I mean? And when it comes to Sea of Thieves, I'm not concerned about it personally, and it's minimal differences. But if you see a trend going forward, then who knows?
On the other side of things, though, we talked about Xbox having to develop for all of the different range of hardware and all the rest of it, and it's all well and good saying that Sony have an advantage in that they can laser focus on the PlayStation 5, but somewhere along the lines we know that their games are invariably coming to PC at a later date at the moment, and if you're looking to cut costs as in the development pipeline, then you stop that laser focus early doors and make your games, even if you're going to keep your release schedule, you still develop them with that multi-platform in mind, rather than making a laser-focused PlayStation 5 game and say, good luck, Nixis. So it is quite likely that margin will get eaten away anyway as PlayStation adjusts their business as well. But Chris, you were talking there about Alex Battaglia's videos and the setting, drop your shadows to medium, gain 10% and all the rest of it. And I have to say, that's why I do still like console gaming. I freaking hate optimizing and tweaking graphic settings on a PC. I'd much rather stick my feet up and let the developers with their professional profiling tools optimize my settings for me, rather than sit there tweaking my anisotropic filtering and hoping that it holds up when I get to the climatic boss battle at the end of the game or all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Saying that though, we're on Nvidia, and I always find that kind of GeForce experience optimizes pretty well. Obviously, we're fortunate enough to have a 4090, which has got a decent amount of grunt or whatever. But I do agree with you. It's kind of don't spend too much time tweaking. But I think GeForce Experience has a good handle on how to optimize a game. There may be the odd little tweak, or it might leave VSync on or something like that, where you don't necessarily need it. But I think that's just the kind of nerd in me likes watching, the fact that Alex has gone through all these things to see. And the thing is, it's just keeping you kind of your brain fresh and on the dev cycle and stuff like that. What the which of these settings are having kind of performance impacts and things like
it's
that.
It's interesting to see the makeup of the game.
Yeah, and then you do realise, and you sit there and realise that a lot of people don't understand, the console gamer market really. I mean, they don't necessarily have to, but you've got a lot of people thinking that these consoles are doing kind of native 4K. You've got people talking about, the PS5 Pro is going to do 8K, 120 and stuff like that. It's it's all dynamic resolution scale, and there's going to be no PS5 Pro is going to be doing native 8K at 120, that's for sure. So
apart from on that tourist game.
Yeah, apart from the tourist game.
Right. I think that's probably covered that particular question, eh? So let's bring up question 2. It says that Isla's asked, it's not, it's Gams. This is from Discord. Darge's review of Jedi Survivor. And let's do Darge's review of Jedi Survivor first, and then we'll do part 2 of the question.
My review of Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
Short form.
I preferred it short form. Good. I preferred it. I really, really liked the first game. I really liked Fallen Order. And then went back into this, and like I said, what was good is it had none of that, them games where it's the protagonist has had mild amnesia and you have to learn everything again. You literally pick up where you kind of left off on the first game, so you're powerful, but you evolve even further, and the story's good, the combat's good. That's why I was so frustrated, because when I booted it up, Chronic, in our Discord, he says about it, because when I first booted it up that first night, the frame pacing issues and the lagging, it was just awful. But that there's a really good, smooth playing game under there, and I said, like, when you talking Disney and EA and you know, they ain't even doing their due diligence with that. But the mod, thankfully, saved me. I had a much smoother experience. I think Luke Steele or Flush, one of the two, said that they might try it with the mod because they were unconvinced. But it really did make a difference. And once that was on, I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. It's a great game. I'd like to see how. I mean, I don't want to go into it too much because Kev's going through it right now.
Went to EA Play as well. Game Pass in 3 days' time, isn't it? 26.
Yeah, so it's going to drop on Game Pass. So if there's anyone here who hasn't played it, Darge said go and play it. So yeah, no, it's good. It's good fun. And also, like with the Dark Souls, it gets like Souls Light or Souls Light or whatever fucking saying it is. There's 5 settings, you know what I mean? So I just went for the middle, normal, just went through like that. But I mean, if it's too hard or you want to turn it up, you can do that on the fly in game. So yeah, definitely give it a go. It's a great Star Wars game. And that's my review.
Right. That is your review. Perfect. That's part 1 of the question. Chris, you can take part 2 of the question. Do we think the PC portables will get bigger with the Steam Deck 2 in the future? Do you think the handheld market is going to grow to be full-sized? Fucking huge.
Not like this. The size of the portable, so they'll get this big. They'll be like a 10-keyless keyboard.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a bit of a resurgence in the portable. I think obviously the Steam Deck's helped. I think ROG Ally's helped. Obviously MSI and others have seen the market. They've just not released as good of a machine. Obviously rumored that Xbox may get into it and things like that. So I can see it, definitely growing. It'll be interesting to see what Valve do and what the Steam Deck 2 is looking like. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy having the option to play on me ROG Ally. I think I've said the only thing I don't like about it is the battery life or whatever, but they'll sort that in the ROG Ally 2, and it'll be something that I'll probably pick up and recycle the original to a family member or someone.
Portable that would entice me wouldn't have a screen at all. It would use glasses like the Nreal glasses and whatever. And then the actual thing would be like, freaking, this is a 4090 in a box and I'll play that. That's fine. Get the screen off of it, pack in loads of hardware. I don't mind if it's heavy. Don't mind if it's hot. Then I'll play it for a little bit. Yeah. So someone make that for me. Yeah, why not? Rucksack and a controller, absolutely.
I think the handheld market has definitely got legs in it, though. You know what I mean? Because obviously mobile gaming has taken off. Maybe you're saying the console market, the curves flattening out. You know, maybe this next generation of gamers and that are more on the go handheldy types. Hopefully this Xbox.
All those nerds who sit in front of a PC.
Yeah. But obviously,
true gamers.
Aside from that, like I still really hope Xbox, the Steam rumor and the Epic, and it all comes together. And like Chris said, either a hybrid type console / PC, or it all goes into a handheld, and you can just connect all your libraries up. But yeah, I think handhelds will be about for a while now. I think the Switch as well. The Switch, like low powered. You know, obviously it's got them Nintendo exclusives, which do a lot of work and all that, but you know, the sales on that thing and everything, I think it shows that there's something there, you know.
You've inspired me, Chris. You're going to see me walking around in like central London, 2 backpacks. One of them are full on PC, one of them a UPS, just plugging it in, glasses on, Xbox controller. I can march
like
back.
Sam Bridges, Death Stranding.
Build a nice little micro PC with a 4070 in it or something.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the future of portable devices, Gamsley. They are bigger. Let's have the next question, please. Mine will be, it'll be freaking huge. Gamsley, tea or coffee?
Flush was saying there was no talk about Fallout. It's dead. No Fallout.
We must have spoken about that last week, right? Neither of you are playing a Fallout game at the moment, are you?
No, I went back. Actually,
London, wasn't it?
Actually, yeah, we was Fallout. We should have all been in post-apocalyptic London today, and then Bethesda thought they'd get their finger out and get a next-gen patch available, like 2 days after, so it's delayed it. But just earlier, I remember you saying, is there anything else you've been playing? And I played System Shock Remake. Have any of you played that? That is fucking carnage. It's like, it's great. Like, the art style and everything's great. But then there was this bit where I was in, like, this just carnage. And I was just like, I can't, it's too trippy for me, too synthwave, like it's bringing back old memories. So I had to get out of there quick. But yeah, I gave that a little go. But Fallout 76. I had a Fallout First membership, and was you in there, Chris, with us when I was doing that Fallout 76?
I remember you setting up the server.
Yeah, I set up the server, and we had a little muck around in it and that. And then obviously me being me, I thought I'd still have the service. Re-enrolled in the service to see if I could get my world back, and it didn't give me my world back. So then I dropped the game. But I should really get round to a Fallout, but it's too much to do. You know what I mean? I haven't watched the show.
Russian group had taken over your world, and you've just been paying for them for the last few years.
As long as someone's been enjoying themselves, I don't mind. You know what I mean? But I've only watched one episode of the show as well, so I ain't got that like, oh wow, this thing's really cool. You know, like the big surge. I see people sharing like it's near up at Helldivers too, but you know, it's good to see though. I like seeing a resurgence. You know what I mean?
Got one episode of Shogun to watch with Amy tomorrow, and then we'll get on Fallout.
Arr.
Next question, please. You two can answer your tea and coffee question if you want.
Why does it? Is it always Gamsey that asks tea or coffee, or someone?
It is his thing constantly.
It's Gamsey. Yeah. He's not allowed to drink either.
I just moved it on.
He's not allowed to drink either. That's why he asks us, because the caffeine, it gets him overexcited and he messes himself.
Oh, sorry, I'm doing Asa's job. Sorry, Asa.
Go on, Asa.
It's not. We're co-hosting, Chris. Take it.
Riskett said, should Xbox acquire Crystal Dynamics and IDOS Montreal, and what should they make?
Yes.
Yes, and Tomb Raider. That's it.
Yes, no. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Deus Ex. Yes, and Deus Ex.
Or for me, I would like a complete reboot of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver franchise. I absolutely love Soul Reaver and Legacy of Kain, and I feel like it's a wasted IP.
Did IDOS ever make a football game? They did, didn't they? Just reboot their old football. I'm sure they made a football game.
They did. I did.
Just reboot that.
I've got to find out.
They acquired Crystal Dynamics and IDOS Montreal and then just made a football game.
IDOS did IDOS were behind Championship Manager, weren't they? Before Sega, and it went to Footman. God, scream.
Oh, yeah, that's like you've got to hell.
I know, I'm like fucking Nosferatu, like that. But
have you got any thoughts, Asa? Or
no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Meta should acquire them to make VR games. Oh. Next question.
What waste?
What waste? That'd be brilliant.
Embracer should sell them to one of their other spin-offs.
I think we can all be.
I mean, Crystal
sell them from Middle Earth and
friends to someone else.
Crystal were co-developing with the Initiative, though, weren't they? And that's been like a couple of years or so now. Still ain't heard nothing. So
I think IDOS is.
We'll wait until.
I think IDOS is supporting another Microsoft studio as well. I think they're both on that.
Oh,
really? The lesser known one.
But they supporting Fable. Someone was supporting Fable as well.
Something like that. Can't remember what game it was, but
you heard it here first from Asa.
Well, wait, we'll revere judgment on if they should acquire them then until those games launch in 2027 or something, and then
IDOS were responsible for the virtual Richard Ayoade part of Fable. That was it.
Ah, brilliant! I had the IT crowd on last night.
I don't want Microsoft to buy too many more in case Microsoft turn evil. Once the current guard go, I don't know who's next, and I don't want them to have like everything. So probably don't necessarily want them there. Could happen.
That's
could
what
happen.
I've been told.
Bobby Kotick could come back.
And he's got to undo everything and make it all exclusive.
Don't, because you'll get clipped for that.
I know, yeah, it will be. You've heard of an ex-Sony developer. Jim Ryan's going to Xbox.
Right. Let's have a look. We've got Eradication. Radders has asked, I know they're pointless, but what open critic or Metascore are you expecting for Hellblade 2 next month? Lock in them predictions, you bastard.
87.
I'll expect 60. Anything more than that, I'll be happy. No, I'm joking. I don't know what to expect because I don't trust it. We had this conversation a few weeks back about the media and the trust. You know, there's always going to be that wild fucking guy who's like, oh, I want to shine on this game. I'll give it a 5 out of 10 because it was really short. Yeah, like the review scoring.
GameOn Arcadia. We're going to be at the top.
My review.
For 3 out of 10.
But yeah, like I say, meta. You know, because we do it all the time. Like, well, I say we do it. We don't do it, but you see a lot of it waiting on meta scores, and then you know, however the game is, it's 86. You know, like Starfield, and then people start nitpicking, and they go, "Oh, Metro UK, give it a 4." Like, and it's like every game is gonna get that. Like, do you know what I mean? So I feel like you shouldn't really pay too much attention. I mean, Zal Tales of Kenzera, first game by that guy. I think it's like a 67, 66, 67, 68, somewhere near there. Now, in some people's eyes, that's trash. You know, I think that guy's probably well happy with an aggregated score of around near 8 out of 10 for their first game out the gate. You know, and it's all about perspective. You know, so listen, I would love Hellblade because of what it's doing visually and everything. I'd like to see it over a 9. You know what I mean? But, you know. I'll say 90.
I'm just going to chip in with some football chat. Have you seen the scores? Have you seen the Arsenal-Chelsea score? And the Southampton?
What's the Arsenal score?
5-0 they're winning.
They're winning?
Yeah, they're winning 5-0.
Fucking want to read that. Go on.
And Leicester have beaten Southampton 5-0 as well.
That's crazy. That's a little football snippet there. We usually reserve that for the Discord, so you're all lucky. Yeah, but, yeah. So back to Hellblade. If Arsenal were losing, I'd have been really happy you'd done that.
That's
for me, but they're not.
So,
yeah. So anyway, Hellblade.
87.
I would like to.
I went 87.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in the 90s, but you can't trust the media. So yeah, fuck them.
Cool. That's the next one, please.
Can't trust the. You heard it here first. You can't trust the media.
I don't trust
the Darge Knight.
That's no one. Episode 13. Do you think the Xbox new console in 2026 will have 2 SKUs, or do you think they're going to go for an all-out beast hybrid PC type thing? Sorry if the question is samey. They're going to have 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah, thank you.
Depending on how they position the handheld.
Yeah, obviously I said I was hoping of 2, and then we spoke over the weekend, and then you said they'll probably still go with that low-end console. You know,
low-end console would be Series X.
Well, it's not what could help, even if they did have 3 devices, is if they could fucking name them properly. You know, if they could actually give them catchy names and not names that, when you talk like a fucking idiot like me, yeah, I can make an X and an S sound very similar. Yeah, so brand them properly, create them properly, make them great, you know, fucking market them, you know, maybe get a TV ad, you know.
Should get MSI to name them. Because if you look at, I was in stitches watching Gamers Nexus because their like operating system or the overlay was called like the MSI. It was basically called the MSI something. So it's like MicroStar International Gaming Portal, like something. It was just
Xbox ain't far away from that. I mean, I said like I would like them just to go back next gen, call it the Xbox. You know what I mean? Just the in-home Microsoft Direct Xbox. Yeah, that's that. And then the Xbox Portable.
Get these MSI people to collaborate with the Embracer naming gurus. Name them 3 studios and we'll see what we come up with.
The Middle Earth, the Middle Earth Magic Box.
The Mocha Lip.
if I was Xbox or Microsoft, I'd basically pay for all the Marvel naming rights. I'd call like Iron Man, Spider-Man, just totally piss
They
on
got
Sony.
a,
Probably
they
right.
like I say, they got the most important thing. I've fucking banged on about it for ages, but the marketing, the messaging, and everything is just fucking carnage. Like, you know, the Riskit said, another rate they step on or trip on their own feet. You know, they're great. Like, I want Xbox to do better. Do you know what I mean? But they're just
I reckon you
fucking
should be in
carnage.
charge of marketing. Why don't you get on Dutch's show at the weekend and ask Alan Greenberg if you can have a
Just
job?
stick it on Greenberg about his job. Sound
go
like the
Greenberg.
sexy, attractive version, ready to take his job. Nah, he's like, do you know what I mean? Though, like, I don't understand this logic and this notion of this thing eats monsters for breakfast. It's the world's most powerful console. Nothing. Like, scream it from the rooftops, scream it everywhere. I didn't see no TV ads. I don't know about everyone else.
Didn't quite perform, did it? Like the One X. I mean, that was they could shout about it because it was outperforming.
Yeah, and it was a 4K res and all that shit, wasn't it? You know what I mean? It was a leap. And then obviously when they go head to head like that, and fuck it. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Here's a question for you. Do you reckon Sony will steal the world's most powerful when the Pro comes out for a bit?
Do you know what, mate? I'll tell you what. Even if Sony did
between each other,
Sony's marketing is shit hot. So even if they didn't have the world's most powerful console, Sony's marketing group will sell it to you in a way that you have to have it. Even if it isn't, they will find
sell it to you in a way that you'd have to have it.
They wouldn't sell it.
They just put a billboard up in the underground and you'd buy it on the way back out.
I wouldn't. I only ever bought one PlayStation. I bought two PlayStations. One was because of peer pressure with my old Xbox 360 pals, and the other one was just to shut Zulka up when he was calling me a fanboy. When I bought it. Yeah, I won't go and buy it.
We shall
Xbox
see.
is marketing shit.
Yeah.
Next question, please.
You say they're shit, but speaking, they've just sent me an email.
Oh, it's not showing. Hold on.
Okay.
Here's
I'll take it all back. I'll take it all back. They're sending emails out.
Right. Oh, we've run out of questions. So that's good because we've got an Overwatch 2 date coming up. Darge's voice has gone again. So that's about time we get to the end of the show anyway. So that's a convenient wrap up of the questions. So I'm going to say thank you again, everyone, for coming through and keeping it entertaining, keeping it light. That's like chat is brilliant, Discord is brilliant. So thank you everyone for all of that. Chris, talk to people.
It's the best place. It is the best place. Thanks for everyone dropping by. I'm going to jump back on No Rest for the Wicked. Going to resume Dragon's Dogma 2. I was going to talk about. I won't go into details of what they've been doing, but obviously, Capcom have been rebalancing parts of Dragon's Dogma 2, which is good. Rebalancing elements which won't just completely screw up your game when you've put like 50 hours into it. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, usual places, in the Discord. And yeah, but a No Rest for the Wicked. Obviously, I think we're 3 days away, aren't we, from Manor so then I'll just disappear into a medieval hole.
Yes.
Cannot wait. And yeah, do you know what? When it comes out, we'll do a competition. We'll give a copy of Manor Lords away on Steam or whatever, or some type of Xbox Game Pass. We'll give a copy away somewhere. We'll do it. You heard it here first.
Awesome. So next week is going to be the Manor Lord special because we're going to drill Chris for loads of information on that. He's going to go into it hard. Darge.
Yes, mate.
I'm not going to go into Darge.
What's up, PC Cat?
What's up, PC Cat? No, I'll record that properly. That's down on the soundboard. What's new? What's new, PC Cat?
No,
I'm up to nothing. I'll probably go work. Probably have an haircut because it's a bit long. Probably try and get Final Fantasy VII remake done before we come back next week. Well done, Scott Z. I've been speaking to him in DMs. on winning the comp. And thanks everyone. Like I say it all the time. I know I buzz about the community over at Discord, but it genuinely is great. I mean, I got a screenshot of Sunday night. I think there was about 14 of us when they were in the voice chat, you know, playing games, and it's just great, man. Like every minute of the day, there's always someone about. You know what I mean? And it's good. It's good. So, you know, thank you everyone for coming to watch just me and my two mates talk about video games and football. And yeah, just hit you know, if you're new here or if you're watching on a playback, hit subscribe, hit like, you know, and look into the Discord. Other than that, yeah, thanks everyone. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, there is so I've made some changes on the Discord to make more and more of it visible as well. So if you're not sure about it, or if you just don't like Discord, you're not used to it, hit the link anyway, have a little browse around, because it is a nice friendly place for people that love playing games, which is awesome. I will be back on this channel tomorrow doing Q&A, and back on this channel on Thursday doing the Xbox Series podcast. Fridays are still temporarily podcast free, but that won't last that much longer, and then it's on with the weekend and the next week. So thank you everyone for coming through. Chris, strike a pose.